Yeah, last where we left off was basically completing an hour. We actually finished our own material, created our own little scene in Blender. Not a full, like, playable game scene, but just, like, actually creating the scene and stuff, getting used to the controls and everything, which is huge because that's something that is much needed stepping stones so you can be super fluid and actually be able to speedrun later, be able to make things super fast. Stuff, and we also got the documentation open because we can get some stuff from their free market, which is very beautiful. If I'm not mistaken, we can use that stuff. Well, actually, how can I just drag these and put them in?
Unreal Engine. You can find a link to download the free assets
It's going to say
in the
it?
description of this video. The reason why is because in this section, we're going to go over how we can take a texture and import that texture into Unreal Engine and use it in one of our materials. So to begin, I've already downloaded the assets for this tutorial. Right here, intro to Unreal5.zip. Double click to go inside of it, and double click to go to intro Unreal 5. So I want to make sure that I do unzip some of these assets specifically to begin our assets folder. To unzip
Yeah, I got that right here.
it, simply drag it onto our desktop. We are going to go over Castle assets and intro Unreal project in just a bit, but for now we don't need these. So I'm going to exit out my zip folder, and now we have a brand new folder.
Interesting. I'm just gonna drag I'm dragging this yeah, I can just drag it. Wait, I can just drag it right in here. I can.
With a bunch of assets we're going to import into Unreal.
Because I would have to keep going back into this file just to get that stuff, and I don't want to.
A very simple material.
Just in case if I want to use it later.
You can probably guess that Spanish pavement color handles the color of the texture, Spanish pavement roughness handles how rough the texture is, and the normal map, which is this purple texture. Well, it does look pretty weird. Don't worry, we are going to go over what a normal map is in just a second. But for now, let's go import all three of these into Unreal Engine 5. So let's open up Content Drawer and go.
Wait. Okay. Let's make sure. So, okay. So, content.
Into my stuff.
Wait, because, yeah.
As you remember, we created a folder called My Stuff to hold all our assets, and I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and drag all these assets into my content drawer. So you want to make sure that your content drawer is open, so you are able to drag it in, let go, and automatically.
Okay, so he just wants to... Okay, so just these textures. He wants the first three in.
These three textures have imported. So you'll notice that all three of these textures have a little asterisk right there that tells us that these textures need to be saved. So select all of them and press Ctrl S, or we could click on Save All. So.
So Ctrl S doesn't work. Interesting. That's a big thing right there. That's really huge. Saving like that because you don't want to like accidentally like, oh, let's work with the materials, have them all like that, go right back into your scene again, and all the materials are gone. I've had that happen a few times, not just in Unreal, but like actually in Blender as well, which is a little unfortunate, but that's something that you get to use to, like, okay, wherever you're going to be making Unreal, Blender, anything like that, make sure that, number one, it's got a lot of space. I would say probably around 100 gigs, depending if you're going to be serious in this or not, because the materials you're going to get are going to stack up over time. You're probably going to want 3 to 4K textures. They're pretty beefy, and there's a lot of objects that just one object requires a few materials. And then depending if you want to bake, which is putting all, like, if I wanted to bake this, that is its material. That's not a baked material. That's just a material. If I bake this in Blender, I don't know if you can bake this in Unreal, but if I bake this in Blender, it'll give, and I put that texture in here like this, it would look like that, but like stretched out, like unzipped, like a present type of folding wrap. That's what a baked texture would look like, more like that, because you kind of need to do that in order to go over. Well, you need to be in cycles, and then actually bake all your stuff together into a combined material, or normal roughness and whatever, depending. So that's actually really huge to always have that in mind, because if you're going to be trying to do any of that, it wouldn't work. You would have to... It would sometimes work, depending on the object, unless you want that type of art style. It just really depends.
For Spanish pavement roughness, we see that's turned on. I'm going to check this to false and save it. Now for our normal map, if I double click on
Why is that
Unreal
like
is smart
that?
enough to know that this is a normal map, so it already automatically sets some of the parameters. sRGB is turned off, which is what we want, and compression setting is set to normal.
Okay, good.
Now, if you do import a normal map and Unreal doesn't know it's a normal map, then you want to make sure that you set compression settings to normal map and sRGB turned off. So let's go create our material by right-clicking, go to materials,
Wait, where did that... So you don't have to with the roughness.
And compression setting is set to normal map. Now, if you do import a normal map and Unreal doesn't know it's a normal map, then you want to make sure that you set compression settings to normal map and sRGB turned off. So let's go create our material by right-clicking, go to materials, M_Spanish.
Okay.
Now you do not have...
Oh yeah, that's right. So, copy. Finish pavement. Matte. I like to do that. Keep them... Well, technically you would want to probably do matte underscore the name. That'd be a little bit better. So then your materials won't be... Because if you have a model that starts with an S, this material will be right next to the model versus all where the materials are. Actually, I want to correct my mistake. So that is actually not good. Got to get that habit out. It's going to take a while. Still, I'm still doing it.
Have to add the M underscore in front of our name, but just for dimension, I like to add M underscore over all of my materials to tell me just by quickly reading the name of the asset that this is a material.
I love him.
And let's dock it up.
See, he's on it. He's got it.
Material graph. Now I'm going to press Control and Space, and I could drag in each texture individually, or I can hold down Shift and select all of them and drag in all of them at once.
Ooh, that's good. Awesome. That's actually pretty cool. Let's, because yeah, this is first material. Let's save. Because that's applying to the main texture. Yeah, whatever. We didn't do nothing.
Normal map off to the side, because we are going to go over this in a bit. But let's just handle our roughness and our base color. So base color will go into, of course, base color, and roughness will go into roughness.
Yeah. Boom. And then boom.
Now, we don't have to play with a metallic value, because metallic by default is set to 0. Because our material is a metallic, we can leave the metallic input empty, since it'll just default to 0. And within material example level, let's apply this brand new material to our floor. Right away, I noticed that there are 2 issues with the material. Number 1, our material is tiling way too much, it's too small. And number 2, there is no depth, there is no shadows given by the crevices of our span. It's almost as if someone got wallpaper and plastered it onto the floor trying to pretend like it's real flooring. So to fix this, we use normal maps. So essentially what normal maps do is that they fake bumps. So they fake depth, and they make it look like our texture actually has height, when in reality it doesn't.
Yep.
So to add a normal map, it's pretty simple. As you could probably guess, we grab the normal map and simply drag it into normal. So press it.
Okay, why did you... Okay.
Apply.
Made it like special, like we're gonna like plug something
We'll
out.
see. Our texture looks a lot better.
Oh my god, that actually does. Unreal, you're pretty hot. God dang. Oh, that's right. That's right. Remember, you gotta save. You gotta actually click save. You can't just... Oh, you gotta save and apply. Is it saving and applying? Yeah, because I saved it. Oh. That's nice. Because if we do take it out, like, those little bumps wouldn't, like, it wouldn't look like that. It would be way more flat. So nice. That's actually really nice. I can't wait till I get my textures in here. Yeah, how do you... Wait.
There's actual depth, and if we come to the shadow...
Can you
right
scale
here,
it with an engine?
Light, we can see that as I move this light around, the material itself is casting shadow. So since the light is right here, now the crevices have a little bit of a shadow. So
yeah,
really
isn't that nuts?
to make our material look
isn't that
really
crazy that that happens and that works?
Now it's
like that?
Switch our tiling, because it might
I still don't fully, like... My mind still doesn't fully wrap around how that could technically work.
And to pick tiling, let's go into M underscore Spanish payments.
I know it, but it's just like... It's hard to imagine.
We're going to use a brand new node, so right click.
Like... That's how that works.
Type in texture coordinates, so let's grab that.
Oh, so... Okay. So it's a texture coordinate, okay. Right click. Texture. Board. Okay.
Texture coordinates will allow us to change the scale of our textures. So if we just,
I just plug it into...
Nothing will happen.
Because, yeah, we're going to be applying it on their UVs. Interesting.
Then that's because...
That there's not many more, but I wonder how you can change that later.
And left click to add in a multiply node. Or...
Oh! M is multiply. Good. Multiply node is big.
Math multiply the value that comes out of texture coordinates. And on a side note, if you ever want to break wires, hold down Alt and left mouse button to break it. So let's move multiply here like this.
Alt. Left click. Plugging that in an A.
Mouse button and drag it into A, and then drag this out.
And we're plugging, okay.
Just like this. We can multiply this by a number, which is a constant scalar. So as you can guess, we're going to type in constant and grab one constant.
Okay. So, constant. Oh, yeah, that...
So, plug this into B, and let's give this a value of, instead of 1, something smaller, like 0.5. And this will increase the size of our texture.
Texture coordinates multiply. I mean, yes, technically. I'm just thinking about this in comparison to Blender. What did I do? Because not 1? Probably. Or something like that. Yeah. It was legit so small. Okay. I see. So that would be scale it to... So like this? How would this look? Okay, so kind of the same. So then if I would 3. We're applying, we're applying, we're applying. There we go. So yeah, there's the scaling down. I really see it now. This is a really good tile texture. Like a really good one. A good seamless one. So then 0.1. Yes. I thought I was zoomed in. No, it's just that. Wow, you can really see like the fake depth type stuff. Awesome. So, what do we got?
To make our Spanish payment bigger, and we can see immediately that it did make the texture bigger. We can maybe even make this a little bit bigger. Let's try 0.35 to press apply. And now I do like the scale of our payment. We can also add a little bit of customization. So maybe I don't like the tint of this. I want to make our payment a little bit more red or a little bit more green. Well, I can marquee select by holding the left mouse button anywhere in my graph. Select all my nodes, move it back a bit, since we're going to be adding some nodes right here.
I had a feeling.
M and left click again to add in the multiply node, and drag it into it like this, and then drag it out into base color. I actually want this RGB to go into B, not A. So I could hold down Control and hold down my left mouse button to then grab this wire and place it into B to just switch it from A to B. Now I'm going to hold down 3 and left click to add in a constant 3 vector, and I'm going to set its default value to white. And
3. Oh.
And I'm going to set its default value to white, and place it in A.
White, okay. Yeah. And then you're plugging this to A.
Okay. So since R, G, and B are all 111, there's going to be no changes right now with the Spanish payment. But if I want to make a Spanish payment a little bit more red, instead of it being white, I'm going to move it into the red direction. And press apply, we can already see a change right there.
Interesting. Oh, so that's okay, so there's a few ways that you can apply a texture in that way. Interesting. Because if I go over to the first material, yeah, the lerp. I mean, no, just I get what it does because it's multiplying the color. I guess Blender does that automatically through their nodes. Right? No, I want to try this. So, lerp. What's the difference? I want to see this. I'm not going to just assume it. Oh, I was hoping it would push it down. And then... Oh. Did it work? I think it's a little less red. Well, it's orange. Number 1. I think it's a little less red. And then we plug it in. Is it because the alpha? Okay. Then... Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So Blender does that automatically with one node. That should be the same thing in this. So
right now our material looks nice, but there is one big issue, and that is it is not real time. So whenever we make a slight adjustment, we have to press apply and wait for it to compile in order to see changes in our world. And as you can imagine, if we have a really complex material and we make a slight change, the compile time can take a while. So we're able to get around this with parameters. So parameters allow us to make real-time adjustments without any compile time whatsoever. So let's jump into it to show
interesting. Okay.
We first need to create a material instance, and this material instance will hold all of our parameters. So to create a material instance is pretty easy. First, we want to find the material we want to create an instance of. In our case, it's a Spanish payment. We already have the location open up within our content drawer, but just as a reminder, you want to
find
exactly where this material is. Select object with the material on it.
I'm kind of keeping on to this because it looks like this is small now.
And within the details panel.
Oh. Details.
Select the little magnifying glass to jump to that location in your content drawer. So here we have M_Spanish payment. And to create a material instance, simply right-click on the material.
Oh, okay. I understand why, but this is...
and go create material instance.
Oh. Whoa. Okay, we're getting some okay, this is a little interesting.
Now, instead of calling it M_Spanish payment, I'm going to call it MI_Spanish payment.
MI. Interesting. Oh, yes. I agree with that. MI. because you wouldn't want just instance first. You want material instance because you want the instance. I'm actually gonna do underscore I, so I know it's instance like that because actually no, it'd be in front. Okay, so you would first see your instanced materials, then you would see your material, the other materials.
So I like to use an M to tell me that the asset is a material.
And also that's a
like
dark green, which is a little bit
material
different.
Instance. So let's double click to go into the material instance, and we'll see that we don't have any parameters right now. A parameter is essentially a setting that allows us to change our material. And that's because I need to tell Unreal exactly what settings within our material I want to make a parameter. What variables I want exposed to the material instance. So for example, if I want
okay.
to make this value right here a parameter, right click, and go to convert to parameter. It's that easy, and it's going to ask for a name.
Okay, well, F2. Can't double click to get its size. Oh, wait. Apply. Because that's, yeah, so doing this, that's the whole applying thing. So if we... Yeah, that's legit what Blender would do. But this... Okay, that's crazy.
Because I have to press apply. And now we get a brand new parameter within our material instance called size. Now, before we can play with this, let's go add our material instance to our world. Since the Spanish payment is...
That's crazy.
Instead, it's M_Spanish payment. So let's go grab our material instance.
Yep, yeah, okay, I was about to say. So... Wow, so you had an instance... So, MI. Yeah! Well, I guess it's a cheat way to... Well... And then save. Or maybe not. Maybe that's still too... Was it really that far? It was. Oh, wow. So I would have to save that.
For example, and we do not have anything because I forgot to press apply.
Is. Haha. Oh, no. What?
And
what? Oh, that's a first material. I saw that color green, so I was like, oh. There it is. Okay. And then enable it. Is that actually changing noise? It is. Or it's changing something. I don't know what that's doing. What is that doing? Oh. Because this is all real time, keep in mind. Which is pretty freaking hot. God dang, look at that. That's a beautiful blood red. That reminds me of the Shining scene. And wow, that looks so good. Oh man, that's also another important thing. Like, really have fun with your scenes. Learn that from Bob Ross. Like, have fun with it. Because if you be too strategical, or surgical, I mean, with it, and sterile, you're not having the fun that you could have. And that fun, you know, you're enjoying it. It's not like learning in school type of math type stuff where it's kind of like forced. Don't force yourself, you know, have fun with it because you're going to learn faster. I find I learn faster when I do that. Even though, like, I might, you know, I didn't do Unreal in the past few days, but then I do this, and we've learned so much big stuff that now, if I force myself, I probably would have wanted even more break days type stuff. And that's where that's the school type of not wanting to do that
roughness, strength,
mentality
to make our payment even more rough.
But not just that, but having fun. It's like, oh yeah, more fun you have, the more you want to return to it. So that's like a good natural motivation to like pull you back to whatever it is, not just this, but like to just things in general, where it's like, take these little moments. This is what we made so far. This is beautiful. I mean, this is art. This is legit art. I mean, even though we're kind of copying someone doing something, even if you do it identical, still is art. Of course, once you start getting to a level where you're starting to create it even more unique to yourself.
Essentially, a master material is one material to rule them all. So imagine we have a single material, and from this material, a bunch of material instances are created that are very different from each other. These instances can be anything from paint, concrete, wood, pretty much anything you can imagine, and they all share the exact same master material. So I know what he just said sounded a little bit complicated, but it's best to show with an example. We've already done a lot of the work creating a master material.
Really?
And it's actually M_Spanish payment. So we're going to turn this into a generic material from which we can create multiple materials from.
That's nice. Okay, that's still, you could probably have that as a second step if everything else is automated.
And we're going to content more. Instead of calling this M_Spanish payment, let's right click, go rename, and call this one M.
Wait, so we're purposely defaulting everything? No. That doesn't matter.
5, so it's going to decrease the tiling and make our texture a lot bigger than what it would be by default. So I need to set this to its default of 1 right there. So let's press apply. And as a reminder, if I open up mi_Spanish payments, essentially by changing the values within the master material in a material instance, we see size right here is 0.35. To change it to its default, all you have to do is click on the arrow like that. So for color tint, it's right now green, which is what it was originally. If I click on the arrow, now it's pure white. So let's go back. And I also want to expose the textures right here. So I want to be able to swap out each of these textures on the material instance. To do so, you'll probably guess, of course, we're going to right click and go to convert to parameter. Call this one color.
Wait, what? I feel like he's not really doing anything different. What? Like, what we just did is just add extra stuff to it. Why is it a master material? It controls...
Metallic, but what if we did have a metallic material and we want to use our master material? Unfortunately, there is no place that we can put a metallic map. So let's jump into mi_master material and let's add that right here. So we're just going to duplicate the roughness map. So press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, because just like the roughness map, the metallic map is a mask that shows where in the texture the material should be metallic. And instead of going roughness, call this one metallic. Drag.
I actually did... Okay, that's actually... Okay, I didn't know that. He just... That right there, I didn't even know that from Blender. I'm going to try that in Blender now. When I get a chance, because that does make... That actually works. I know that's going to work. I didn't think to do that. Interesting. Because that would be kind of like doing... Because when you do the normal map thing, like I said in Blender, you can use like the base texture in normal map. It's not the best way to do it. It's use that materialize add-on that creates an actual normal map that you plug in here into the color, not the color, like the diffuse. Diffuse, albedo. I hate the word albedo. That's the diffuse. I don't know why they call it the albedo. Some crazy fancy names some nerds came up with, like back in the day, like making it where you got to do capital letters and coding. Does not even need to be a thing. Like, in little pet peeves aside, but that's actually really, really sick. I'm gonna have to do that now.
Here, using the same UVs and simply plug this into metallic. Now we do have the issue.
But it is dumb because like certain things people think up that all of us have to suffer until like someone just changes it within the program.
And that is now even a material like our
It's annoying.
Metallic will have metallic values by default, which is something we don't want. So we want the ability to be able
because it makes it harder for like people to get in and learn. Because I remember how hard it still is hard for me. Like it is, but I got tools under my belt to understand how to attack the problems I'm faced against, and I just can just remember constantly just like how hard it was for me to get through the first wall because you have no tools under your belt.
We'll turn on and
not like no tools from Blender, none of that, but the first wall. But once you get past that, it gets easier and easier.
So our mass material, and we can give ourselves a toggle for this with the static switch parameters.
Ooh, okay, this is pretty spicy. Okay, now this is where, okay, this is probably where this would come in. Okay, master material, I think the reason why I say that is because the distinction, once you actually parameterize, that's how you say it? A image or whatever, then it's technically a master material. When you do everything else in this type of way, parameterize it, it's not a master material. It's just a part of the material itself that has parameters for the instance material. But technically, if you want to go in technical terms, this turns into the master material because you're using more than what you're using parameters on your textures, not just only the I would say parameters, the other modules. Oh no, it'd be the correct term there. I want to say parameters because it kind of is parameters, but not really. It'd be a better word for that.
Is metallic.
But that is kind of cool because then could you actually, if there's a scene, could you make the floor wet because it starts raining? And could that be procedural? Like if weather types, like weather system stuff, like that. I think that's where this kind of like that starts coming in pretty cool. But still, also one of the funny thing is, like the time during the nighttime is all Blender and kind of like dev people say that's like the best time to get stuff done. Because it's like, oh, you gotta go to bed, you gotta hurry up, but you gotta go sleep, you got stuff to do tomorrow, and it kind of rushes you.
If it is, then we're gonna use the
I see. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Metallic. Multiply. If true, and like if false down here type stuff. Metallic?
Value of metallic, which is just 0. So hold on 1 and left click to bring in a constant scalar value.
Oh. Okay, I thought he was going to do that. Okay, so then I went to roughness. You know, it's getting a little messy. How do we mess with the nodes? Like, how do we arrange them, if that's even possible in this? I hope it is. Dear Lord.
And by default, it is 0. So plug it up like this. And now we have a nice switch where, let's say, for example, if we do have a metallic material, all we have to do in the material instance is check is metallic true and
oh. Wait, did I? Oh, no. Save? Wait, did I do that right? No. Because, wait. Why is...
which is just 0.
I see.
Hold on 1 and left click to bring in
I didn't parameterize this. But that is not a thing to do, right? Wait, how do you do that? Oh, you turd. I see. It's a static switch parameter. The dude swiped right under at the last second. That's what's up. So it was a different one. They didn't change it though just yet. That's for sure. And the metallic. Save. Save. Right? Yes. I just gotta do this. Save. There it is. Boom. There's a metallic. Not looking at that yet.
And then if it is, then we're going to use the metallic map. But if it's not, we're going to use the default value of metallic, which is just 0. So hold on 1 and left click to bring in a constant scalar value. And by default, it is 0. So plug it up like this. And now we have a nice switch where, let's say, for example, if we do have a metallic material, all we have to do in the material instance is check is metallic true and drag in that metallic map right here. But if it turned off, then it gets rid of that metallic map. So let me go make some adjustments to smash payment, bring down the size. Also, it's a little bit too reflected right now. So I'm going to increase the roughness strength just a little bit to make it a little bit less shiny. And now we have a pretty versatile master material that we can use for a whole range of different scenarios. And we're going to use this master material in the next chapter. Now that we can import textures and have a master material, let's go over how we can import 3D objects and bring them into Unreal Engine. And it's very important to note that in Unreal Engine, 3D objects are called static meshes. And static meshes by themselves are just a collection of vertices and faces in space. If we want to change the way that object looks, then we need to add on a material. And generally, this material is comprised of multiple textures. So to break down how a 3D asset is constructed in Unreal Engine, first we have our static mesh, which is a plain 3D object. And then to change the way that static mesh looks, we need to add a material. And this material can be comprised of multiple textures. So to better get a sense of how 3D assets are made, let's create our own 3D asset in Unreal Engine. The 3D object we're going to be importing into Unreal Engine right now is included within the beginner assets. So double click on this, and it's the wood crate.
Interesting. Interesting. Ooh. So, because I can really see these parameters, I wonder if you could target these within code, like C++, or target these in a more simpler form, because that would be really sick. That's where it's like, okay, then I will deal with this type of setup. That's what would save this for me. Like the whole type of step and do, well, of course, like I said, nodes and everything, but this parameter system and how this works and how you have to like go between the menus and all that. That is what would make it awesome, because then you would change it, an event happens, then the values would change. Because in Blender, you can press right-click record and then animate on a timeline. That's what I'm kind of getting the same vibes from when I'm seeing this. Because you can do the same thing literally with the values that you input. You can record that and then animate water. That's how you like animate water or droplets and stuff like that, because it's actually animating the texture, not really the water drop. That's how water is mostly simulated within anything, is that you don't really have the actual, unless it's fluid simulations, like actual simulations, you're having like an 3D object fall through the ground, and once it hits the ground, it removes itself. But the ground, the texture, makes a little ripple in that area, or at least generally in that area. because it's so fast you can't see the actual raindrop hitting that. Now, if it's in slow motion, that's where you need to do different techniques to apply that realism. And that's where it's like, okay, now I'm starting to see where these other techniques are quote unquote more advanced. Not really. Most of this stuff isn't advanced. It's just information wise not really out there, because it's Lego building. Lego is really easy. It really is. You just need to know the steps, and then you're good. Then you boom, 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 build, and then free build. Boom, boom, boom. But knowing this, ooh, okay, this is awesome. I'm loving this because this is super, super huge. I wonder, because I do want to bring in my own stuff, but I'm going to use his textures to make it a little bit more simple for me. So I don't get a little too confused, which I don't think I would, because it's the same concept no matter what it is. It's just visually and everything I want to match up, and then start going off into maybe adding my other stuff, because he gives us some free stuff. So I'm like, hey, might as well use it and see how good the textures are, so I can use it in other stuff. I'm kind of also grading his textures and everything, see if I'm going to use it for my things as well. Grading it for my uses, it's not just for like the quality, but for like, can I use this in other things type of deal.